Hello students and welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyanmanjari Vidyapith for the students of Standard 10, in which we are learning the subject of social science. Students, this is the fourth lecture for chapter number 11, the geography part of social science, India, water resources. So let us take a quick recap of what we have learned in the previous three lectures for this particular chapter. Water is a natural as well as limited resource that we have learnt, and we cannot imagine life on earth in the absence of water. This is also very important that water does not have any alternative, so it is used in quite large quantity, that too for numerous different activities all over the world. The main important thing for any country is the amount, the volume of water that it requires or it uses for the purpose of doing agriculture, because agriculture is necessary to feed the population. So prosperity, if the country is not having a shortage of water, that is the meaning. What is the meaning of prosperity? That the country does not face any shortage of water. That means it has enough water to irrigate the fields so that it can feed the population. Plus enough water, that means drinking water is enough. For the purpose of running the industries also water is required. So water is used for drinking purpose, domestic use, agriculture, of course it's the foremost one, then drinking water, then domestic uses, and for industrial purpose also. So for all these reasons we can say that if there is water, then there is life. We have sources of water. There are three sources of water: rainwater, surface water, and groundwater, where rain is the original and it is also the primary source of water on earth. We on earth get water from rain. The surface water, that is rivers, ponds, lakes, reservoirs, seas, ocean, all of them, they get initially the water of rain. So the surface water, that is the secondary source of water, but primary source of water on earth is water, and it is also the original source of water. Then rivers, lakes, etc., they form up the secondary source. Surface water we just discussed: seas, streams, rivers, oceans, reservoirs, multipurpose project, whatever water is collected or water is flowing, all of that, if it is on the surface, then it is surface water. The last one is very important: groundwater. When rain falls on the ground, on the earth, water seeps in, and after a certain level the seepage stops, because a huge rock stops the water from percolating further, and water starts getting collected, that we refer to as underground water. So water which is located under the ground, and for the purpose of using it you have to pump out, then that is called groundwater. Groundwater, it is an unlimited quantity of water, because we cannot measure the total amount of water that is present under the ground. So unlimited quantity of water. Among all the resources of sources of water, groundwater has a lots of importance, because rain doesn't happen, then also it's okay. Surface water dries up, then also it's okay, because we are always assured that groundwater will always be there. So groundwater has lots of importance for irrigation purpose, for drinking purpose, industrial purpose, domestic use, everything. Then we learned that mostly in North India, people, they use wells, tube wells, plus lots of surface water, but mostly wells and tube wells are used, because the seepage in the ground happens quite a lot, and lots of snow-bound rivers, snow-fed rivers, they originate from Himalayas and keep whole of the area drained. So lots of surface water, underground water can be used. But in South India, because it's a peninsula, and Apart from that, it's a plateau, so the ground is raised a little bit, so rocky surface is there which does not allow the water to percolate further, and so mostly surface water, that is rivers, lakes, ponds, etc., that is more used in South India. Then water resources and their use. The first one is irrigation. About 84% of water that India uses, that 84% of that total water, out of that total water, 100%, 84% is used for the purpose of agriculture, and lots of water is used for growing agricultural products. For example, 1500 liters of water is needed for growing just 1 kg of wheat, sugarcane, paddy, etc. These products, agricultural products, they consume even more quantity of water. Then even in the ancient times, canals, etc., artificial irrigational facilities were provided by making Grand Aniket Canal across the river Kaveri in way back in 2nd century. Then during the British rule also in 1882, Eastern Yamuna Canal was built in Uttar Pradesh to help the farmers get water for their fields. Different methods of irrigation we have learnt. Out of that, wells and tube wells, they come at the top, then canals, and at the end ponds. Tube wells and wells, they are used maximally in India for giving irrigation or giving water to the farms, crops. Canal, they come at the second place, where lots of network of rivers are available. Canals can be drawn, canals can be made from them, and lots of water can be given to a very large area. Then that, in those places, we can use canals. So canals come at second place. Ponds, for example, in the South India, in each and every field there will be a pond, so that they keep on taking water from there, and then when rain comes, it replenishes the pond. So in that way, ponds, they are used in South India, plus the northeastern states, ponds are used lots of. Then we learnt about the multi-purpose project. It is called multi-purpose project because lots of various purposes are solved by making just one dam. For example, irrigation to the nearby fields, hydropower generation can be done, water supply, that is drinking water, water for day-to-day use, daily use, then water for industrial use, all of that can be done. Then flood can be controlled, navigation can be done in the multi-purpose project. So that is why it's called a multi-purpose project. In short, we call it a dam. This is what we just discussed. Flood control, prevention of soil erosion can also be done. Water for drinking and irrigation can be supplied. Industries can be supplied. Water can be provided to settlement for daily use. Electricity generation can be done. Internal water navigation can be done. Transportation can be done. Entertainment can be had from such places. Wildlife can be protected. So fisheries can be done. So lots of uses of multi-purpose projects. Then we looked at some of the multi-purpose projects that are in India: Bhakra Nangal Dam, Kosi Dam, Damodar Valley project, Hirakud Dam, Chambal Valley project, Nagarjuna Sagar Dam. These are built on various rivers. That's already given in your material. Then we looked at the map showing the important multi-purpose projects in India. This is a very important map because map marking will come from this chapter. One mark in which you have to draw, mark the particular project that is asked in the question. So lots of practice has to be done for this. Then distribution of area under irrigation, depending upon the state. Each and every state, the requirement is different, plus geography of that state is different, climate of that state is different, the rain that they receive, that is also different. So depends on where the location of the state is, and that is how distribution of area under irrigation. For example, coastal district like Andhra Pradesh, delta regions of most of the South Indian rivers, that is Godavari, Krishna River, Mahanadi, Delta in Odisha, all of them, they have lots of water all the year round and lots of silt gathering over there. So they, whenever they want, they can take a crop over there. That's not an issue. But in India, area under irrigation and irrigational facilities, today it differs from state to state. Out of that, 38% of net zone area is under irrigation. 38, only 38% is of the net zone area is under irrigation. We need to improve upon this. Depends state-wise. For example, Mizoram, which is a hilly area and irrigational facilities are not required, lots of rain happens. So only 7.3% of the net zone area in that state is under irrigation. Rest depends on monsoon. Whereas opposite, Punjab, most of the area, net zone area, that is 90.8%, almost 91% of the area, net zone area is under irrigation. They don't depend on monsoon because they are totally dependent on the irrigational facilities, canals, rivers, wells, tube wells, etc. So vast difference between the total area sown in respect to the net irrigational area. 40% area of the total share is in Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jammu Kashmir, Tamil Nadu and Manipur. All these states together they make up 40% of the total area under irrigation. Then we looked about water crisis and water management. Water is an invaluable natural resource that we learned. Lots of crises happen. First, these are the reasons: constant rise in population, demand to grow more cash crops, food grains. For the rising population, you have to feed them, clothe them, cater to all the needs. So increasing urbanization, area of the towns and cities are increasing, changing lifestyle, industrial, more and more industrialization. So demand of water keeps on shooting up, but that much water we are not able to supply, and that is how crisis, water crisis happens. Inequality in water supply and inefficiency in its distribution, they solve problems for livelihood of human settlements, and it also hampers economic development. Two things to keep in mind over here is inequality in distribution and inefficiency in distribution. Yes, the lake, it dries up, but before it dries up, the water is not supplied to the citizens and the industries, so it is allowed to evaporate. So this is called inefficiency in handling the resource of water that we have. And inequality means for example, many big cities, they have a large demand of water, huge demand of water, so water is supplied over there, whereas the nearby areas which are away from that main city, they have to live without water or with less water, because most of the water is collected from these nearby areas and supplied to the main city. So inequality in distribution in water, that also hampers the economic development of the state or country. It's a very serious problem and lots of things have to be done. So many of the parts, for example Rajasthan, southern parts, central part of India, it faces quite a lot of water crisis. What we need is pure, potable, that means pure, safe, germ-free drinking water for our survival. But the quantity and quality of water is deteriorating or going from bad to worse at many places, and because of that waterborne disease also spread. That is not good for the country. Although government has put in lots of efforts in the last 2 decades, but then also the problem persists, it continues. This is important. 8%, we will go back to the book, whatever the book says. So according to the book, 8% of the Indian towns, they face severe shortage of water. 50% of the villages in India, they still do not have pure drinking, or we can say tap water, that is to be given by the corporation, municipal corporation or the municipality. So 50% of them, they still drink the well water or the water from the nearby tube well, etc., but they do not have the tap water coming, the pure safe drinking water supplied by the government. Important to remember, we have made a good progress. Still 2/3% of our area under agriculture is still dependent on rain. We need to decrease the dependency of the farmers on rain by giving them good irrigational facilities. Reasons we have already done, but still let us look at this. Reasons for water crisis is constantly rising population, and the demand keeps on going up, and people keep on extracting more and more water from the ground, because surface water, it doesn't last long. Rain comes for one season, and then throughout the year we have to do without rain. So whatever surface water is available, we first use that, and then we start pumping out the groundwater. So groundwater level also decreases, and quantity and quality, both of them are going from bad to worse. And some states in India, for example Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, those parts which are quite dry and have to depend on groundwater, they are extracting very high volume of water from the ground. This is becoming a serious problem because water table is going down, the level is going down, and both quantity and quality will be affected. Water is constantly being used in the industry, so they also keep on pumping out the water. That also decreases the water table. So water quality is degraded mainly due to release of dirty water from the industrial and household works. Management, this one also we have done, how to manage and conserve. First is construct more and more reservoirs for storing water. Connect basins with rivers with each other to bring the groundwater at high level. This also we discussed on the board, that rivers can be connected with each other. So whenever there is flood, extra water can be drained to the nearby river, so that water can flow over there, and it also plus irrigates and brings up the water level from the nearby areas. This is very, very important. Watershed development, I would like to discuss watershed development again. Watershed development is a natural technique for water conservation. If we are talking about conserving water, then watershed is the very first thing that comes to our mind. Now, what is watershed? Watershed area is a basin of tributary rivers, because tributary rivers are the main source of huge volume of the main river. Main river, it keeps on flowing at quite a length, and these tributaries keep on dumping their water into the main river. So in the main river, the volume keeps on increasing. The situation goes from bad to worse when it is rainy season. When it is rainy season, the main river itself has lots of volume, and on top of that, these tributaries keep on dumping their water also. So in the main river, flood happens, and that is quite destructive to men and material both, in whichever state it flows through. So due to rain, the water flows from the tributary river and meets the main river. The land area then drains the water of tributaries into a particular lake or river, which is called watershed. Now this is where we would like to again I'd like to discuss again the watershed area. If this is the main river, that means all these areas, nearby adjoining areas, level of water, underground water is quite high, because this river always has water throughout the year. That means this is a perennial river, say it is coming out from the Himalayas. Lots of other tributaries dump its water in this main river. Lots of other tributaries. They keep on dumping their water in this main river. Now when rain comes, rain also happens in these areas. I'm putting a cross in these areas. Rain also happens in this area. Water will either go into the main river or it will go to the tributary wherever slope is there, and then it will flow down and meet the main river. The main river will keep on going ahead and then it will meet the sea or ocean. The rainwater which is falling on the ground, on the earth, it just gets wasted because it flows into the ocean without us taking any use of it. So that is watershed program. We have to do something in this in between areas so that water stops over here. If water stops over here, then less water will be in the tributary river, and so less water will be dumped in the main river. So this is the area where we can do something. Now what are the things that we can do in this area? We can plant trees so that trees, they stop the flow of water, allow the water to go inside. We can make several check dams over here. If the river is too big, we cannot make check dams, then we can certainly make big dams over here so that extra water is stored over here which can be used in these areas. So whatever we do to stop the rainwater from unnecessarily flowing away into the ocean and keeping the water at this place only, that is called watershed development. Watershed development includes, watershed development includes program like preservation of soil and humidity. Now when rain happens, when rain comes, monsoon season comes, sometimes excessive rainfall happens that takes away the topsoil. Now if we have lots of trees growing in that area, it will stop the flow of water and it will not allow that flowing water, that surface runoff, to take away the rich soil which takes millions of years to be made. So soil can be preserved, plus if the water seeps into the ground, under the ground, in the soil, water is present in the form of moisture, that is humidity, which helps the crop, trees, shrub to keep on growing. So that is why it's important. Plus we are already doing water conservation. Tree plantation can help. It will also increase the forest area. Horticulture can be developed. Development of pastures, as I said, lots of humidity is present in the ground, so grass keeps growing, and the nearby villages, they can graze the cattle in this pasture land. Collective water conservation, lots of areas getting together and trying to solve this problem, that is called collective water conservation. Under this program, the capacity of land and local requirements have to be taken care of, whether that area requires, does it have water crisis? Water crisis is not present in that area, but then also the water flow in the tributary is such that it has to be slowed down. Then local area, the local requirements have to be kept in mind. Local people, they should be involved in these programs. Central government and state government, they have taken up lots and lots of plans and schemes. Next comes the topic, rain harvesting. Rain harvesting is a technique. This is the definition. What is rain harvesting? It's a technique for conservation of water. Now rain falls on our houses also. तो होता क्या है, टेरेस पे पानी इकट्ठा हो जाता है, we take out a pipe from there and allow it to fall out of our house, usually in the neighbor's house. Yes, so that water flows in the street and goes down the drain, and that drain empties in the nearby sea, river, wherever, and it flows into the sea ocean. And that rich rainwater is of no use to us because we allow it to get wasted. So we can harvest that. Harvest means we can do something so that it gets collected and it becomes fruitful or useful to us. For example, what is rain harvesting? Simply from your terrace, whichever pipe is allowing the drain of water, excess water from the terrace, simply put a pipe over there and extend that pipe in your underground water tank. So your underground water tank, without municipal corporation's water, it will get filled with rainwater. Rain happens every day. So each and every day can collect water and keep using that. Then you will be using less of the water provided by the municipal corporation. So that slows the demand of water from the corporation. So at least during the monsoon season, small such type of plants can reduce the demand of water from the corporation, and we can use the rainwater. The same pipe which we have taken out from the terrace, that can be directly attached with the tube well that we have in our houses, and we can allow that rainwater to go down into the tube well. So it will directly go to that water table and increase the level of the water table. So small things that we do, it adds up. If everybody is following that in this area, then what happens is lots of water goes inside the ground directly to the water table. क्योंकि हम जो घर में बोर बनाते हैं वो directly reaches the water table. Now rainwater, it directly reaches with the help of your tube well, it reaches directly the water table, and water table rises. Because what happens in summer that we know, these tube wells, that pump that we have at home, 10 minutes chalta hai, then we have to stop it because water table has gone so low in summer season because everybody is pumping out water. So if we have these effective ways of replenishing the water table, then it can help us. Then it is done to increase the groundwater. For rainwater harvesting, special methods are used to collect rainwater in wells, small dams, ponds, khetwadi, that is farm ponds, etc. Now we come to a very important point. In Saurashtra region, in Gujarat, especially in the western Gujarat, southern Gujarat, and this parts of Saurashtra, we have rivers which dry up totally even before summer. So what happens is, in monsoon rivers, in monsoon season, these rivers, they are full with of flash floods because rain happens over here somewhere in the heights, then water flows down, then this river has water, otherwise it doesn't have water. So what is rain harvesting? It is making small check dams at every small interval and making the nearby village responsible for it. These are very small check dams, just a cement and stone blockade to stop the water flow. So water gets collected over here. If water gets collected over here, slowly it will seep into the ground. If these check dams are not made, water will simply flow away and go and meet in the Arabian Sea. But if we have check dams, at each and every check dam, water will be stopped. This water can be directly used in the fields by pumping out the water directly from the check dams, and water has stopped over here, so it gives time to the water to seep into the ground. So these are small things which we can do. Many times we must have seen on dry hilly areas, deep trenches are, ditches are made, deep ditches are made. These ditches will be at least 6 to 8 feet in the ground. Small ditches will be made, but around the hill. So earlier what happened when these ditches were not there, जब ये गड्ढे नहीं बनाए थे, rain used to fall on this hill and drain down. But now when these ditches are made, what happens? Rain stops over here. It gets collected in these ditches. Rain stops and gets collected in these ditches. When this happens, all this water is going to go down and it will increase the water table that is under the ground. So the people who are quite far away living in the nearby villages, they also, their water table increases, so they can take use of this extra water that has added to the underground water and increase the level of underground water. So in this way, this is water harvesting. There are lots of methods of rainwater harvesting. What we discussed earlier in, say, this is your house. Yes, so from the terrace we take out a pipe. Yes, that pipe can be simply given in the underground water tank, or it can be directly put into the tube well, so that the water, the rainwater which gets collected in the on the terrace, it can flow directly to the bore well, and that bore well, through the bore well, it goes into the ground directly and increases the water table that is over here. So in this way, these small schemes or plans that we do that will help, these are the small methods that help in ultimately increasing the groundwater level that we have in areas like Rajasthan. In areas like Rajasthan, each and every house that is situated in the remote areas, far off villages, etc., each and every house, they have a big ditch dug up in the backyard, and then the ditch is covered with a slope of mud, etc. Then whenever rain falls, all that rain gets collected in the tank that is made behind the house. Whole of the year they use that water as drinking water. They don't have to go anywhere in search of water. So this is nothing but rain harvesting. So special methods are used to collect rainwater in wells, small dams, ponds, khet talawdi. Now what is khet talawdi? It's not a new concept. Khet mein chota sa talab, that is called khet talawdi, or the English for that is farm ponds. In each and every farm which is quite big, a small area which is usually not used, that area a huge ditch can be made, a pond, artificial pond can be made, where rainwater can be collected. Anywhere collection of water will allow the water to stop, seep under the ground and increase the water table. Second use is that it will stop the soil erosion, and the soil can be collected over there. Wherever these slopes are there, at the end of the slope, farmers usually make a big ditch, क्योंकि उनके खेत में से जो extra water flow होके बाहर जाएगा, that will be stopped in that ditch. The soil will get, because water has now stopped, so soil particles will get deposited at the bottom and only water will flow. So when the rain has stopped, they can again take out that soil and again spread it in their farm. So it's a very good thing and serves lots of purposes at one go. This raises the groundwater level. This water is then used for domestic use, agriculture, wherever you want to. Main objectives of rainwater harvesting: to increase the capacity to conserve water. We need to increase the capacity where we can save water. So rainwater harvesting, it is a method where we save water, that surface runoff we stop and allow it to get collected at one point. The underground water and increases the underground water table. and it reduces water pollution. New fresh rainwater goes into the ground and it increases the water table. Now water table was quite low during the summer season, so that water is polluted and quality of that water is reduced. It's quite dirty. So when the new fresh rainwater comes and increases the water table level, then that pollution will spread into dilute and thus water pollution will reduce. Improve the quality of groundwater to save the land roots from water logging. Now, what is water logging? Water logging is nothing but anywhere this depression can happen. It can happen in many parts of the town, cities. There are low-lying areas and water does not have any way to go out. Then water gets collected over here. This is called water logging. See, in flash floods, when even in our city or take any other city, under bridge etc., they get flooded because under bridge से बाहर जाने का कोई रास्ता नहीं है. Then that area is waterlogged, right? And until the municipal corporation comes with their pumps and drains of the water with the help of pump, the rainwater gets stagnant over there. So to save the land roots from waterlogging, reduce the surface runoff of water. The water which ran off the surface and went away into the nearby drains and into the seas and oceans and rivers, that is stopped and it will allow the water to go in there. Fulfill the requirement of domestic water, because as I said, from the terrace we take it down to your underground tank, then that water we use it for domestic purpose. And requirements during summer, long dry spells when there is no rain or less rain is there. So the methods with which we collected water during the rainy season did not allow it to just run off and go away. We stored it. That will be useful if next year rain is less or there is no rain or there is scarcity of water, whatever. We can deal with that situation if we have done rain harvesting. Fulfill the increasing demand of water. We already know countries like India, developing countries, they have a very high population growth, and that is why demand of water keeps on increasing. So we can fulfill that demand. Make arrangement to store rainwater in underground tanks and multi-story residences. We have high-rise buildings, 10 floor, 20 floor, 30 floor, and they are quite huge. So lots of water gets collected on the terrace. So that water directly, if it is with the help of pipe, if that is diverted to the underground water tank, then instead of pumping water from the bore well and giving it into that underground water tank, we can directly store rainwater in that water tank and we can use it. And we can make arrangements so that water percolates in the ground. Percolates, goes inside seepage, that's called percolage. Remedies to conserve water. Very, very important point. Remedies cure. How to conserve water? One should use water economically. That since ages people have been telling to the next generation telling it to the next generation. Each one keeps on wasting water like anything, but we should force ourselves so that we use water economically. Economically means somewhere we are paying for that water. Somewhere somebody is paying for that water. It's not about drinking water. If we have pure, safe drinking water in each and every houses, तो बिस्लरी की बॉटल की जरूरत ही नहीं है हमको, right? If we think about when we are paying for water, drinking water, same way हमारे घर में म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन हमको पानी देता है तो सामने उसका टैक्स लेता है, we have to pay. So if we use economically, that means सोच समझ के अगर हम पानी यूज करते हैं तो उतना डिमांड कम होगा. And it will not be a burden on the corporations because the demand has gone down. People are wisely using the water, they are not wasting the water. For example, garden दिन में 3 बार पानी देते, so that the small lawn that is over there remains green. Yes, that is an unnecessary waste of water. Vehicles धोते हैं, yes, दिन में 4 बार vehicle धोते हैं, toilets में, wash basins में, we keep on wasting water. So if we use it economically, wisely, then we can save water. So this is one way of, this is a remedy to conserve water. Public awareness should be created for using water judiciously. That means again wisely, and managing water usage skill. If each and everyone, that's self-awareness. So if each and everyone uses water economically or judiciously or wisely, then collectively we can conserve lots of water. We can save lots of water. Everywhere you must have seen hoardings, save water, and one big drop is shown over there falling from a tap, one big drop of water, right? So if we just count, if one person saves one drop of water, there are some say 60 students in the class, 60 drops per day, that's quite a lot of saving, right? So if we conserve, if we use these small methods to save water, not waste it, use wisely, then we can save lots of water, and we don't have to unnecessarily keep on the water coming to our houses from the corporation, and we'll be having less demand of water, and the same water can last for long number of days. Water should be recycled as much as possible. This point is especially for the industries, because industries, they release the dirty water into the river, polluting the river, the soil, nearby soil, underground water, everything is spoiled. So if the water is recycled, it is at least the impurities are removed and very less impurities are thrown into the rivers, dumped into the rivers, sea, then that's going to help us to not only reduce the pollution, but then water can be recycled also and can be used also. Steps should be taken to save reservoirs from getting polluted. हम रिवर्स में कचरा डालते हैं, लेक में कचरा डालते हैं, सेम वे डैम में भी कचरा डाल दिया, वहाँ पे भी इंडस्ट्रियल वेस्ट, if we start dumping in the nearby reservoirs, dams, etc., then that is illegal also, and that's not good for the environment plus our health also. Water harvesting should be increased with all possible resources like wells, tube wells, wherever we can find. Even farmers, right? We think the farmers, जैसे farmer नाम लिया बोलता है totally uneducated होगा. Yes, no. When rain comes, he diverts the water that gets collected near his well. He diverts it into his well by taking out a brick or a stone, so that the nearby water which falls on the earth, soil, gets diverted into the well, and the well water will increase. He will have more water for his crop. So farmers also, they quite wisely they do this rain harvesting. So wells, tube wells, we can recharge, usko recharge bolte hain. We can recharge the groundwater, replenish the groundwater by diverting the rainwater, that is doing the rain harvesting in wells, tube wells, khet talawdi, etc., and we can store water and save water. What should be kept on usage of groundwater by different regions? As I said, most of the houses, most of the flats, most of the industrial units, they will have a bore well in their premises. छोटे से घर में भी, to stay independent as far as water is concerned, they will have a bore well dug in their house, in their premises. So what happens is, if municipal corporation doesn't give you water for 7 days, you pump out water and you use it. So now everybody is doing that. What happens is, everybody is having a bore well and lots of water is being drained from the underground source, then automatically underground source will not even last till the end of summer. It will end up before that, and then we will have to buy water. So water that is pumped out, a check should be kept, so that in some regions where water shortage is there, not only surface water, underground water also disappears. So in those states or in regions, a check should be kept who is using or extracting more water from the ground. Water storage units such as tanks should be well maintained, cleanliness, etc. Any damage in the pipeline, this is very, very important. मही का पानी, नर्मदा का पानी हमारे सिटी तक आता है, बीच में पाइप लीक होने की वजह से क्या है, there's no farm also over there. So what happens, water just keeps on leaking from that area, from that pipeline in that particular area, and it gets wasted. So that is inefficiency in the distribution of water, and any damage in the pipeline should be immediately taken care of. Even tanks, they get leaked, and whatever water we pump and store in that, leakage ki wajah se it goes into the ground and we cannot make use of that. So we can save water wherever we can. Cooperation of general public should be taken for the development and management of water resources of the region, because unless people are not aware, until people do not cooperate, we cannot have water conservation, or we cannot save water. Because if one person saves water and 100 people are wasting it, then it's of no use. So general awareness about water conservation should be done, and that is why these chapters are added right from childhood in your studies, so that you become a good citizen, you know about these water conservation, save water, you know about the importance of all these things. And that is why when you grow up, automatically you will become an aware citizen, and you will be helping water conservation, and thus you will be helping in the development of the country. So construct more and more reservoirs for storing water, that is needed. Connection of basins of the rivers, that we have already talked about. Maximize watershed development. Maximum use of watershed development should be done, so that water does not just run off and meet the nearby river and ultimately the sea, and whatever rain falls on our land doesn't get just wasted and goes and run off in the nearby ocean, seas, but we are able to stop it and allow it to store over there and go seep under the ground, and we can make the maximum benefit of the stored water. There would be an acute shortage of potable water, drinking water problem. It's increasing day by day, and we will have acute shortage of water, drinking water, that is potable water, in the future. India is mainly dependent on rainfall, so we have to be extra careful for water supply. Rainfall in India is irregular and uncertain, that all of us know, and that is why we have to be ever ready to face these dangers. And as a result, many areas like Gujarat, Rajasthan, etc., they face a lot of water shortage. Water shortage is faced by numerous states of India. Even those states that are having lots of rivers, perennial rivers flowing through them, because rain is uncertain or rain is irregular. During the summer season, mostly these South Indian rivers, they don't dry up, but then water volume decreases a lot. The river becomes quite small when summer season is there, because they are flowing in these dry areas. People make use of the water from the river, and that is why when the river goes ahead, volume again decreases, because people are constantly using, cities, town, everybody is using. When rainwater comes, when monsoon comes, when rainwater comes, again the river is flowing both the banks full. So that is the time we stop the flow of that water. That means we take maximum use of that rainwater which is flowing in the river, we collect it somewhere, we conserve it somewhere. That is the best time we can conserve water that is flowing when monsoon season, because India is dependent on monsoon for its water. So more and more reservoirs have to be made so that more volume of water is stored over there. That will ultimately help us in lots of different ways. Water crisis has also increased drastically due to overpopulation that we have already studied. Agriculture of only cash crop, because cash crop they require more water. Increasing urbanization, because population is increasing, they need new residences, so ultimately the cities, towns, they are bulging, right? They are increasing, so urbanization is happening, and because of that demand of water keeps on rising. High standard of living, right? Hence demand of water is more where the supply is less. Lot of water is used through wells and tube wells, therefore underground water is also decreasing. Water quality is being degraded day by day because dirty water is thrown by the industry, by the household. Due to these reasons, India is facing water crisis and will face acute shortage of water in the future. What is needed? A proper irrigation system is required in India. Lots of towns, lots of villages still they do not have a network of canal, etc. They still have to depend on bores, tube wells, khet talawdi. So proper irrigation system is there, then maximum India can have water. Rain is the main source of water in India, but monsoon season in India is very short. That's a drawback. Rain is quite irregular. Sometimes monsoon begins early, sometimes it's late. That is irregularity of rain. And it may harm also and damage the crop also, because if the rain happens just 15 days late, then also it's quite a loss to the farmers. Therefore proper irrigation system if there, then our farmers will not be dependent on rain only. So a very good irrigation system is required in India so that crop can get water on time, and thus quality and quantity and productivity of the crop can be increased, it can be enhanced. Now we have the example of Bedaj village, that's in a box in the textbook, but still Bedaj village, it was having a very high shortage of water, so they did something. What did they do? The backward villages of Bedaj in Arvali district, that is Gujarat, understood the value of water and soil, evolved the understanding of water harvesting. What they did is they converted the entire region into greenery by conserving 2.25 crore liters, that is 2 lakh cubic meters of rainwater. What they did is, as we discussed earlier, nearby hills है तो वहाँ पे trenches खोद दिए, अपना जो lake है artificial उसको deep कर दिया so that more water can be stored during rainy season. They created an association of the villagers, opted to solve primary problem of water, and they got cooperation from all the villages or nearby villages also. Cooperation of these institutions, people have been made aware that they all agreed not to allow the water of the village to go away from the village or to leave the village. That's the flow out of the village. Village में जितना पानी बरसेगा वो उधर ही stop होगा, village के बाहर नहीं जाएगा. So there are lots of ways to do it. The village pond, only 7 bighas, was deepened by 20 to 22 feet. So more water can be stored in the village pond. Then with financial assistance from the institution, 10 check dams nearby जो rivers flow होती है, small streams, सबके ऊपर check dams बना दिए so that every point water gets collected and goes under the ground. 11 farm ponds in each, wherever some bigger farms are available. These farmers, they were told to make khet talawdi, that water can be stored in one low-lying area of that field. Drip irrigation, instead of giving water from wells and tube wells, they gave it through drip irrigation so that less water is used, but the plants which require the water, they get that much required water. Pipeline, with the help of the drip pipeline चाहिए, so 10 hectares, 1 hectare is 100 meter by 100 meters, so this is 1 kilometer. Deep plows, that means deep plows, that means when the sowing is done, it's plowed quite deep and seeds are grown deep, so deep in the ground, so that the roots of the crop, they grow deep and they suck up the moisture which is present in the ground. About 2 lakh cubic meter of water was stopped and stored. The stony and dry land became green. This pointed a way to the others also, other nearby villages also. Approximately 154 vega of land in Bedaj area got new facility of water supply. Now because water supply was regular, their fields were green, so they invested by buying milching animals, and milk production also increased by 12.5 in just 1 year. Water storage increased by 20 to 30%, due to which farm production also increased. Today, even Zaid crops, that is summer crops, are also taken because plenty of water is available. So if we do rain harvesting, if we conserve water, then that can create wonders and that can help the prosperity of people. But then everybody has to cooperate in this particular ways and means and methods of water conservation, rainwater harvesting. In all these methods that we discussed, people should be made aware and people should be cooperating, helping out each other, so that we can save water and thus we can become prosperous. So with this, students, we come to a stop for today's lecture. We will be getting the assignment as usual in a PDF form along with this video. Thank you, students.